Let us now start with another chapter in the subject of perspective management, which is named as management process, roles, behavior, and skills. Under this chapter, we will be learning different models and approaches for defining management behavior. Next, we will be learning the nature of the management process, the extent to which leadership and management should be regarded as synonyms or alternative concepts, perspective on the skills and qualities needed by the effective manager, example technical skills, personal skills, social skills, cognitive skills, political skills, etc. As far as introduction is concerned, management development programs have always been criticized because there actually arises a difference between what has been actually taught into this program and what managers actually do. Management development process can seem to be disconnected from the realities of doing management. Second thing is that job rotation and training can appear overplanned and programmed, distant from managers' everyday lives. As a result, management development solutions can seem to be too abstract, neat and logical, removed from the confusing and fragmented nature of management as lived experience. Management development programs can also seem very prescriptive, implying that managers need to behave in particular ways if they want to be effective, and that there are universalistic best practices in the conduct of management. A major thrust of this criticism is that management development needs to be located in what managers define as their organizational reality if they are to own the learning processes and really grow from them. From this, it follows that sensitivity in the design of management development and concern for its effectiveness is interchanged with thinking about management as an activity. Unless we have a conceptualization of management process, how can we decide on strategies to develop the manager? Before answering to this question, let us first of all realize the actual meaning of management. Bertrand Russell, one of the sociologists, once distinguished between two types of work. The first, which is concerned with altering the position of matter near or at the Earth's surface relative to other matter. And the second is that telling other people to do so. The first thing, that is altering the position of matter near or at the Earth's surface relative to the other matter, is quite unpleasant and ill-paid. The second, that is telling other people to do so, is highly pleasant and highly paid. The second kind is capable of indefinite extension. They are not only those who give orders, but those who give advice as to what orders should be given. Managers definitely fall into the second category of work, and MD practitioners might be part of the indefinite extension. The rise of management and managerial values is part of the spirit of the age. Management forms much of the vocabulary, the criteria of judgment, and worldview of post-industrial society in the early millennium. However, management only really emerged as a separate discipline with the ascendancy of 19th century capitalism. Since then, it has gone on apace to become one of the basic institutions and key forces permeating all aspects of society. However, although management is universally acknowledged as a major ideology for the modern world and part of the global shift to business values, there is no general definition for the management, and there is no general meaning of the management on what actually it is. In the early days, management was largely seen as mechanistic, functional, and technical activity concerned with a rational organization of resources for efficiency and performance. In more recent times, it has come to be defined less as a discrete activity and the preserve of the single discipline such as accountancy, engineering, HRM, etc., and more as a process which crosscuts all organizational function, which follows all organizational functions, an integrating force for relating the various activities that occurs in an organization to obtain or to achieve the overall goals of the organization rather than the individual departmental goals. But although synthesizing and coordinating, contemporary views of management insist that it is not homogenizing. Management work varies so much. It takes different forms in different places and is practiced in varying ways at various levels. There are big variations between managers in the degree of independence they are allowed and the demand placed upon them, and then there are subjective factors, differences between managers in how they interpret the demands and constraints placed upon them. On the top of this, there is a cultural overlay which implies other differences. As far as cross-cultural patterns of management and development suggest, there are national variations in how management is defined and practiced, and by implication, the skills and development involved. Hales, one of the sociologists, summarizes the diversity and complexity within the structure of management work by suggesting four broad observations. Number one is managerial work is contingent or on management function, level, organization, and environment. Second, managerial jobs usually have an element of flexibility within them. There is usually room for choice on the basis of personal values and style and interpretation of strategy and organizational purpose. Managerial work does not fall into neat sequence of tasks. Often, these are contradictory, competing, and ambiguous in form. And fourth, managerial work is constantly being negotiated and renegotiated as circumstances change. Two managers with the same job title may be performing very different kinds of work. Heller, who has written so much that is memorable about managing, claims that management is not one but a number of occupations, and the skills involved are very context dependent. He also implies that management is not something grand. In fact, it is quite a homely occupation, even if it is a complex and problematic. It is as much art as science and learnt as much through homilies, maxims, stories, and aphorisms as techniques and principles. Even allowing for some dramatic license, this seems very plausible. Mark Smith also helps in understanding regarding the management by suggesting that management work is complex and variable. It seems far more easy to do than it is. Managing involves ordering and coordinating the work of others, but to do this, managers first have to create similar order within themselves. Managers deal with the unprogrammed and complex problems, that is, those which cannot be routinized through ordinary organizational process. Managers need to be able to move between technical, functional, and cultural boundaries to build order from fragmentation. These models present very different but not all contradictory perspectives on the managerial project. Next is under the meaning of management, there comes doing management. Management has always been based on myths. One of the oldest approaches to describing management is to attempt to group management activities by type and provide a framework to explain their activity. Many classical writers have made contribution on these lines. Fayol, Recht, Reich, among others. The classification of this classical school involve abstraction which attempts to capture the essence of managing. Often they involve list of what managers are supposed to do all day, such as planning, organizing, motivating, controlling, developing, and etc.